Sartorial Suter, mualaf Biliuner, tumbuh dan besar di sekolah Katolik di negara asalnya Australia. Pada masa lalunya, dia sama sekali tidak mengetahui tentang Islam, bahkan konsep beragama.
So 13 years, or 12, 13 years of Catholic schooling.
Catholic schooling.
Yeah, I was pretty poor family growing up, but I was pretty sharp as a kid, so I had scholarships for pretty much my whole schooling. It was all Catholic schooling. But the way Catholicism was represented, it was a chore. It wasn't something anyone was passionate about.
Yes.
It was just, this is what you do. And my perception of what a religion was once a week you go to church, you sit there, you say some things, and that's it.
Dia menerangkan kondisi Australia saat itu dan juga pemahamannya tentang Islam saat menjadi militer.
If you're in the West and you don't fully understand Islam, you don't comprehend what a religion is, because it's a whole level of depth that people just don't realize or appreciate it even exists. The country that I'm coming from, Australia, is getting increasingly liberal. There's an attack on family values, there's an attack on masculinity.
Ternyata mereka menganggap bahwa Islam adalah ancaman dan musuh karena menentang modernisasi dan liberalisme.
Especially when I was in the military and the specialist area that I went into, the belief was not so much that Muslims were the enemy, but that they were a real and present threat. And so my initial interpretation of Islam was that it was a dangerous thing. That's the truth. Whereas these so-called threat-driven countries, Muslim countries, where there's this dangerous thing called Islam, they are speaking up for traditional values. They are pro the family unit. They are rejecting modernity and liberalism.
Selanjutnya dia menjelaskan hal yang merubah pandangan negatif tentang Islam setelah membandingkan dengan ideologi negaranya.
I lived in Iran, Iraq, Saudi, a lot of time in other Middle Eastern countries. I lived in Iraq as well. But through spending a lot of time in the Middle East, through learning the languages, and then as I looked into Islam more and more, I'm like, hang on a sec, this is a different league in terms of depth, in terms of guidance, in terms of structure as to how you live your life. So
dia melihat adanya korelasi kebenaran ajaran Islam di dalam sistem pemerintahan di negara masyarakat Muslim.
Whereas when you have, especially in places like the UAE, where you have a system of law and order and a governing system that is based in religion, in faith, and in a faith that has very clear guidance as to how families should run, how men should act, how justice should be administered, that's a sustainable model with which both for individuals to flourish and society to remain cohesive and as it should be, as it naturally should be for generations to come. So I really do believe that the Middle East is the future in terms of places like the UAE. I really do believe that that's a society you'll see continue to be a safe, prosperous place for generations to come, inshallah.
Dan melihat bahwa sistem liberal dan hedonisme Barat semakin terpuruk dengan segala permasalahannya.
I do believe, as the Tates have said, the West is a failing society. You can see it in real time, becoming more polarized. The confusion in young men and women as to do they identify as a man or a woman or a coffee cup?
Or
it's becoming an absolute mess. So which side is the just side here? If we're talking about the war of ideas, fifth generation warfare, if you will, which side makes sense? Which side has a more beneficial outcome for both individuals and at the society level? And so I realized that I was, if you will, ideologically on the wrong side. And I mean, part of the reason why I left the military and the work that I was doing after that was I realized that Western governments, they're not necessarily representing the best for again, both the individual and for society. Whereas
sedangkan di sisi lain, penganut Islam memiliki keunggulan dan kelebihan.
Actually, practicing Muslims who feel an accountability for every one of their actions to a higher force and to akhirah, the fact that they will be judged, they're people you can rely on. They're people you can trust. And the men that I respect the most were very devout practicing Muslims.
Dan konsep ateisme yang bertumpu pada pendapat pribadi sendiri akan sangat berbahaya dampaknya jika dianut seorang pemimpin.
And the founder of liberalism, I don't want to misquote it, but he said you can't trust an atheist because they have no sense of accountability to a higher force. I'm sure I'm butchering that quote, but the essence is there. It's if somebody is their own god and their own judge, then they can do whatever they want. Whereas with a practicing Muslim, they understand on a deep level, I am held accountable to something higher than me. I think that's absolutely essential, both for the ordinary citizen, but also for leaders of countries. If you have someone leading a country and they believe they are their own source of accountability and they are their own God, for example, that's a dangerous thing. They can do whatever they want. I think they can pursue any hedonistic urges they have. They can be unscrupulous in their business dealings. They can become essentially evil beings. And I think in the West, a lot of Western government figures are driven by shaitan. I really do believe it.
Selanjutnya, dia mempertanyakan apa manfaat dan nilai positif yang dihasilkan dari masing-masing kepercayaan itu bagi para penganutnya.
I think it's tricky because a lot of people, when they take these, whether it's atheistic beliefs or liberal beliefs, even though those belief systems are clearly not helping them in life, they have that ego attachment. I'm an atheist, therefore, I'm going to justify it in my mind. I think the ultimate question to anyone who says they're an atheist, how's that working out for you? How does your view, your atheistic belief system, benefit your life? Because I can talk for hours, and I happily will and have done, and we're doing right now. I can talk for hours about the benefits that Islam has brought me, both in terms of making me more fulfilled as a person, making me more disciplined and effective and able to better serve, my family, my colleagues, my society. What does atheism do to make you a better person? How does it give you increased discipline? How does it give you increased energy to really go and be the best human that you can be? Because one day you will be judged. It doesn't bring any of those benefits. So again, to any atheist out there, my simple question for you is, how is that working out for you? How is that benefiting your life? Because personally, I can talk for hours about how Islam has and is benefiting my life.
Hal-hal yang dilihatnya tersebut membuatnya merenung lebih dalam, sehingga membuat perubahan dalam cara berpikirnya. Bahwa Islam adalah satu-satunya yang dapat menentang kemerosotan generasi akibat arus modernisasi, hedonisme, dan liberalisme.
I think, to be honest, it was concern for where the world was going. And the steadfast, I wouldn't even call it belief, assessment that the only solution to liberalism, to modernity, to the degeneracy we see being pushed in the West by modern culture, Islam is literally the only solution. Now, yes, there are certain religions out there, such as Orthodox, which are very strong, and they are holding their own, they're resilient, but they're not really fighting back. To me, as I've seen over the years, the only movement that's really pushing back against all this degeneracy being pushed through modern Western culture is Islam. I don't see any other entity, any other body standing up for this constant bombardment of being masculine is a bad thing, being feminine is a bad thing. You want to identify as a lamppost, that's what you should do. All this illogical, and like we laugh about it, it's damaging, right? Especially when it's pushed on the children. Show me a more effective solution than Islam, and from that logical assessment that, all right, this is the answer for both how to manage yourself as an individual and also how to push back against the nonsense, how to save society, if you will.
Pada akhirnya dia pun berkesimpulan yang juga membuat hadirnya hidayah menjadi Islam.
I genuinely believe at this point now that Islam is the only answer for both individual, welfare, but also over the long term, but also societal. I see no other solution to combat liberalism and modernity, which, let's be honest, is shaitan. I view that very clearly.
Demikian hasil renungannya tentang ajaran Islam yang membuatnya menjadi Muslim. Semoga bermanfaat untuk kita semua.